welcome again. My name is Amira, and I'm a student from the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. Thank you for being part of You Alive today. The program today is in 3 sections: a 10-minute talk with our speaker, Ms Chong Siak Ching, a 20-minute interview with Viswa Sadasivan, chairman of the You Alive Organizing Committee, and then a 30-minute Q&A session. If you wish to ask a question, please make your way to the microphones along the aisles. Introduce yourself and speak directly into them. This is essential for the online community to be able to hear your question. Thank you for your kind attention. Sit back and enjoy yourselves. Please welcome on stage Ms Chong Siak Ching.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Well, when I received an invitation from Viswa, I thought that it was a mistake. And it took me a while to kind of read through that mail. I read it through twice. It was a very long email. I thought he was asking for a donation. And then I realized, no, he was asking me to speak at You Alive. Then I said, oh dear, what have I done to deserve this honor? To be placed among the list of very distinguished past speakers. Many of them are celebrities in their own right, and even presidents, President Tan, Cho Chuan, President Nathan. And I must say that I hesitated. I was actually quite terrified, firstly, speaking to this very intellectual audience, but actually more terrified of Viswa. I saw some of the interviews that he did, and the video, the You Alive video says that, well, we want people who are passionate, full of action, very inspiring. And I said, oh dear, that's a tall order. So be gentle with me. But as a NUS alumnus and especially a member of the Board of Trustees, I had no reason to say no. So I'm really happy to be here. I wondered whether my recent decision to make a career switch had triggered off this invitation. But in any case, I thought that I'll talk about that, share why I made that switch, why I feel that it's important to sometimes let go of comforts that we often take for granted, of current mental models and the tendency to just want to take the tried and tested paths of success. And I feel also that sometimes our reluctance to let go also stops us from pursuing new models of success, new definitions of happiness, and new perspectives of the world. 3 months ago, I took a trip to Lapland, way above the Arctic Circle, with my family. And during that trip, I saw a very different world. I saw a world in black and white, and where the sun peeps through the very dense clouds only about an hour a day. And it was very strange to, for 4 days, to live in this monochrome world when we are all so used to a world of technicolor. But it was also equally strange that in this world of black and white, you know, Mother Nature occasionally would display this amazing hue of color that is known as the Northern Lights or the Aurora Borealis. So I was in search of that. And to do that, it happened to be on my bucket list. So we had to brave the cold, minus 20 over degrees centigrade. But of course, we went and we were well armed with lots of warm clothes and tons of heat pads. But you know, the 4 days in this world of black and white, it's like retreating into a very different world, and it really changed your perspective and your view of the world. And in a way, it kind of helped to reinforce my decision to step out of the world of business into the world of the art. I have spent my entire career in real estate, 12 years in Ascendus. If you add, you know, the other years in the JTC group, 21 years in total. And I was worried that, you know, it's not good for me, not good for the company, if I was starting to begin to see a monochromatic world. So, you know, perhaps unconsciously I was in search of the Aurora Borealis, and it presented itself in this opportunity to join this colorful world of the arts. But we all know that, you know, changing course is never easy. And it's not just convincing yourself, it's also convincing others. Many people were very surprised. They were quite taken aback by my decision. And in fact, quite many people said, I'm sure they thought, you know, are you crazy? Are you mad to do this? You know, when you have so-called achieved success, you are so comfortable, and I am, you know, very, very happy in Ascendus, had wonderful colleagues, wonderful bosses, and there was really very little reason to be changing course. But as I said, I was worried that, you know, when you start to see the view of the world for too long in one perspective, it would not be good for anyone. So was I crazy? Was I mad? Well, interestingly, on that same trip, when I was coming back, on the plane there was a the airline magazine, and there was an article about two Danes who were trying to to launch themselves into space with a homemade rocket. And of course, the article, you know, asked, are they mad? And one of the Danes rebutted that, you know, sometimes it is good that some people think you are crazy or you are mad because it means that you are doing something new. I also feel that letting go is more than just overcoming mental blocks, but it also needs some amount of preparation. I wouldn't have been comfortable stepping out of Ascendus if I had not known that the company will continue to do well. My successor, the management team, will continue to be able to, you know, grow and maybe even do a better job than when I was there. And that had been something that I had deliberately worked on with my fellow colleagues. One of my bosses used to say that the minute he stepped into a job, into a role, he started looking for a successor. And that was another very interesting mental model, that one must be prepared to step away anytime and to start preparing for the eventuality even from day one. We also know that letting go of anything, especially of something that you have built and nurtured, is never easy. And I take the case of my daughter, Samantha. She left home for the first time in 19 years. She had to go to university. And I think, I mean, of course, while the parting was bittersweet, I think, you know, the leaving, the letting go, brought in a breath of fresh air for both of us. For her, she started doing things she never had to do at home. She started cooking her meals, started doing her own laundry. For us, you know, left behind, we started to discover that there are so many things in Singapore that we could do and spend our weekends on. So it opened up a lot of new discoveries for us. So when I was sharing with some of my close, you know, bosses and who have become mentors about, you know, that I was letting go of ascenders and I was moving on. And one of my bosses said that, you know, nothing is ours to own, such that there's therefore no letting go. Because in this life, we are often, you know, entrusted with duties and roles to fulfill. And when the job is done, when the duties are fulfilled and the roles are done, then we just must be prepared to move on. So that's where I am. I feel that, you know, at this point, I think I've done what I could for Ascenders, for the JTC group, and I think that at this phase of my life, I would like to give back more to community through the art in this instance, but also in other ways. I currently sit on the springboard with Viswa, very pleasurable to have you there, on the hospital board, Jurong Hospital, in NUS, and I continue to look forward to ways to now give back more of my time to Singapore, and in particular, I guess, to nation building through art. So this is my story so far, and I'm happy to chat further with Viswa and the rest of you. Thank you.
I think it must be quite evident to you, if it's not evident to you, Siak Ching, why we decided to invite you. There's a certain elegance and authenticity in this lady. Would you agree? Yeah. And the rest of you, these are all people who are paid to say yes, huh? No, but I must say, I've admired you, and the word that comes to mind is two words, actually. Dignity and equanimity. You know, dignity and equanimity. I think it's very rare to find a person who has attained the level of success that you have to maintain that almost Zen-like calmness. And it actually has an effect on the people around you, a calming effect, you know. Okay, enough of compliments. Okay, now
this is why I dread.
The question that jumped at me, and I couldn't help it, is look at where you went. It's the kind of things that people who have attained success have the luxury of doing. Time is actually a lot more stretchable for people who have attained commercial and financial success. That's one way of looking at it. And for those who don't, they are left with the drudgery of the day-to-day life. It's difficult for a vast majority of people to pick up and go to the Arctic Circle and see life in multicolored or black and white. And it's difficult to actually find the time or the space to talk about life in such rich terms. Would you say that, in that sense, you are privileged? Privileged enough to be able to do what you're doing? Because in this society, to a large extent, those who are given the opportunity to succeed actually can move on to make more choices in life.
You know, I count my blessings every day. Simple blessings. I think the fact that I'm in Singapore, that I have this opportunity to be in Singapore, to work while in my current role and even in my previous roles. I think these are things that way back when I was a child growing up in Penang, I never dreamt of.
Foreign manpower, huh?
Yes. Foreign talent.
Talent, I'm not sure, but manpower.
So I think, yes, I am definitely very, very privileged. I feel that there are many things that many people that I have that many would not have had the opportunity, and that's the reason why I feel that it's so important, for people like me to find ways to contribute back to society, to wherever we can, whether it's at the office or in the neighborhood or back to our alma mater. While we often tend to be caught up chasing financial success, I think that whether we have attained the success or not, there's so many opportunities to continue to give along the way. So I try. I wish I had more time. I wish I had more money to go back and to return. But you don't need money to give. I look for ways using my time to give back.
Your time and I guess your expertise.
And my expertise, yeah.
So what exactly is that expertise that you believe that you can bring to bear to the art community in Singapore? It's something very new to you, right?
It is. I mean, I've always appreciated art. I enjoy the beauty of art. I try even in real estate, to bring art into our spaces, because I think art must be made accessible to anybody. You don't need to afford, if you can't afford to buy it, it's there for you. And I think the museums play a very important role in that aspect. So what can I bring to the art world? I mean, I was very surprised when I was asked to consider this job. And I did tell the board that, I'm a very risky appointment. But they said that, look, there are certain things that are transferable from one industry, one sector to another. And for the National Art Gallery, which is in the startup phase, we need to build organizational structures and systems. We need to bring in people. We need someone to, harness the skills, the strength of the team, and deliver it. Right. I'm not an art expert, and I would say that even in real estate, I'm not an expert in every aspect of real estate, but I make sure that I bring on board the best people who are specialized in those respective areas, and then I let them do what they are good at, what they are best at, and I see how I can support them in their roles. Yeah.
And would you say that the fact that you are not trained formally in the arts actually might be advantageous?
Yes, I come in with no baggages. I look at things from very objectively. But then I realized that...
and also from the consumer's point of view.
Yes,
right?
Very much so, yes. So
Otherwise, there's a risk that it could
yeah.
become a private party.
Right. Yeah, you're right. So I come in without any prejudices, any biases, and therefore I could say that I can relate to the masses for which we are reaching out to. But at the same time, I'm also conscious that sometimes that lack of knowledge or that little knowledge, if applied, if you do not also address it, can be dangerous. So I do have to learn. I do have to listen to the different stakeholders, and I take the views of these experts very seriously, and see how we then, with a collective view, we move forward.
Just to switch gears a little bit, there's one thing that I've found consistent in everything that you do, at least that I've seen. you're a very good listener. Even when, as deputy chairman of Spring, where you've had to chair the meetings, you listened and spoke a lot less. You know, and I find that a very admirable quality. You listen, but with interest, with keen interest. You know, and you seem to have sort of harnessed that ability into a management style. I've taken the liberty actually to talk to some of your colleagues and ascenders to get a sense of really whether you're really what you are, you know, and sad to say, you are, you know. So it's very difficult for me to ask you tough questions. Yeah. But really the sense I get is that you actually do empower. A lot of us use the term empower as managers, but I get a sense that you actually do, and you believe in it. And you do believe in the democracy of ideas, which in some schools of thought is inefficient in terms of management. What are your thoughts on this?
No, I think through empowerment and, you know, through letting others do the work for you, you end up doing less. So
yeah, but it can also be very challenging. Not everyone can rise to the occasion.
Perhaps, you know, I should confess that I'm a very reluctant CEO.
For 10 years plus?
Yeah, I was for Ascenders 12 years, 12 and years. You know, before that, the predecessor. Yeah, I never really aspired to be, you know, the boss, the number one in the organization. But circumstances are such that, you know, I was entrusted to do the job by my previous bosses, and I, you know, like a good soldier, you just take what comes and you just do your best. So in that sense, I've never had that desire to, you know, want to seize that power and then be the only one to call the shots. And I also truly believe that no one knows all the answers, particularly in today's world, right? Things are so complex that you really need a group of people to come together with their collective wisdom to solve the problems and to chart the direction.
No, but what you're saying, we read in management books, a lot of people mouth it, frankly, but if you could give us one or two concrete examples of where it can actually work. Because honestly, I've seen a lot of situations where leaders have tried this approach, very democratic, letting 1,000 flowers bloom and so on, but it's ended up in chaos. You know, you have to in the end make decisions and decisions that stand the test of time. So can you give us one or two examples where you've been able to manage, you know, the spectrum of ideas without the situation getting completely out of control?
It happens all, I mean, that's the way I've operated in Ascenders, and that's the way I currently operate in National Art Gallery, where we have a management committee that comprises the heads of the various functions, and all key decisions flow through that committee. Everyone gives their views, and at the end of it, if there are opposing views and there's no clear consensus or majority, then I will have to step in and say, well, I've heard everyone, but I think this is the best way forward. And we have this understanding that, yes, we have differing views, but once we agree as a committee, as a management team, the minute we walk out the door, we support that decision.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think after a while, people do realize that that is probably the most effective way to go ahead. Sometimes I am criticized by some members of the team that I'm overly patient. I allow some loud voices to speak a bit too long. But on the other hand, I think it's also important to let people who have a strong view to express it, and so that, others will see that, if they have a view, they express and they're listened to, they will not clam up in future, right?
Have you
So,
spoken
and
to the
I found
government
it-
lately?
To the government?
Yeah, have you spoken to the government?
Well, I've not attended any of the Singapore conversations yet, but I think there are enough voices already.
You know, but I get a sense that your topic, letting go, it's more a metaphor, you know, because from what I've seen, you don't have a problem letting go, letting things go. You're not a pit bull, you know, where you know, some people are pit bull managers. They have their pet issue and they will not let go because they feel that you'll lose face. So as a result, there's this aggressive contest of ideas. But I get a sense that when you say letting go, it's not just letting go of your job, but also letting go of certain issues and certain battles that you think are not critical. Do you think that has also helped in your management style, rather in your leadership style?
I think so, yes. Letting go of sometimes of issues, of frustrations, of, you know, things that you really, if you have no control over, there's just no point, right, dwelling too much over it. Yeah. I suppose, whether it's good or bad, but I don't have a very strong physical attachment to things. So you can ask my husband, I throw away a lot of things and he picks it back up.
So you're the official Karanguni?
So in that sense, you could say that, you know, because I don't have that the need to really hang on to things that strongly, I probably have, you know, it's easier for me to let go. But it's not that I don't treasure things that we've built up over the time. It was very difficult decision for me in the case of Ascendus.
Ascendus, yeah.
It was, I think my colleagues, maybe some of them are here. You invited them,
Yeah.
right?
Who are from Ascendus?
Are there
Don't be
some?
shy, put up your hand. Nobody? One. I think the rest are hiding behind the camera. Yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah, a few of them, they emailed me and said they have a CSR activity tonight, so they couldn't come. It was difficult, yeah, but I feel that, you know, sometimes I just had this feeling that I shouldn't hang on to a role, to a position, when I feel that, you know, the job is done. And it's good to pass the baton on to the next generation. And Kai Ho sent me a note and said, thank you for triggering the moves.
Huh?
You know what I mean?
Yes. No, but I think that there's actually so much for us to learn from this, because I think the issue of tenure, the issue of people holding on, whether all key positions should be tenured, you know, or not, the question of feeling indispensable, you know. Many of us as leaders, even though we don't admit it, we have the sense that we are indispensable, so we don't go on leave. And we're very proud of the fact that we don't go on leave, because we say, you know, we've got so much to do. Actually, it's ego, isn't it? I mean, honestly, it is to a large extent ego, a sense that we are so important that we can't afford to take a week off. What, the whole place is going to collapse? You know? So, I mean, that leads me to my next question, which is, if you feel that letting go is important, could you give us a sense of why you feel in our society, in leadership positions, there seems to be a general reluctance to let go?
I'm not sure we could generalize to say that there is a general reluctance. I think different roles will require different lengths of time, depending on what phase of the organization is going through. And I can speak in the case of Ascendus, because having built and developed Ascendus over the last 10 years, I was actively looking for successors, and like I said, even when you let go, you have to be prepared. You have to prepare not just yourself, but prepare the people you're leaving behind or the organization you're leaving behind. So I wouldn't say that maybe some people are overstaying their welcome in their respective roles.
Why are you smiling when you say that? Very naughty, eh? I don't know who she's
But
referring to.
No one in particular. I was actually referring to myself. I didn't want to overstay my welcome, and I'd rather be the one to initiate the change than to have change initiated on you. Then you're in control of your circumstances.
Okay, last question before I throw it open to the floor. This is actually Anvi's question about women. I just felt like mentioning your name. You're a woman who functioned fairly effectively in a essentially male domain. Property industry, right? And you operated in two fairly chauvinistic countries, namely China and India, to a large extent, right? A lot of Ascender's properties are in China and India. What were some of the challenges that you faced being a female? I know the question itself suggests chauvinism, but ignore that. Just what were some of the challenges you faced as a female going in there and negotiating hard terms with people who may not view you as a leader as such because of your gender? And to what extent do you think the fact that you were able to let go, that quality, to what extent do you think that helped in your ability to negotiate some very tough deals? I'm aware of that.
You make it sound like being a female is a disadvantage in this instance, but
But is it not?
no, you go in and you use your charm and. But you know, India, China,
You poor thing.
the more chauvinistic country that I had to deal with was Korea.
Mm.
And I remember one of the meetings that I had to go to was to meet the chairman of one of the Korean statutory body. And he was an ex-army general. So my people actually had to prep him, or prep his people to prep him, to say that the CEO of Ascenders is a lady and she's quite young, you know. So they had to prepare him for me. So he had to do the work. I didn't have to do anything. I just walked in
And charm.
and just, not deliberately, but just being myself.
Wow.
It was,
She's modest, huh?
I never focus on the fact that, you know, I'm a woman, I'm different from them. And I guess that is helpful, because when you become overly conscious about the fact, then it becomes unnatural. So I'm just myself, yeah.
That's interesting. So what do you think of the feminist movement?
Again, because I do not like to focus on the fact that, you know, because we are women and we are the lesser of the gender, which I don't agree, that therefore we have to fight harder. I think we have to support women and encourage more women in the workforce, and to also appreciate the fact that society imposes on us the duty to be the main caregiver at home, but at the same time, in Singapore, we need to also be, you know, an economic provider, or, you know, contributor. So there is the additional responsibility entrusted on us, and therefore, as wherever we can, we should help support working mothers and women. And in Ascenders, we try to do that, and I think even now in National Art Gallery, we want to make sure that we help everyone. And by the way, you know, we should also be helping the men to do their part at home. So organizations should not just have women-friendly policies, but family-friendly policies.
And I realize that in Ascenders, one of the policies is quite gender neutral, right?
Yes.
The time off to look after your children
your
and
kids, yeah,
your parents.
Bring your child, you know, if they're
And also
sick,
your parents, looking after your
and parents as well, yes. So it's family-friendly policies. And my belief is that, you know, once home is taken care of, then you can focus at work and be more productive. So it is good for the organization to do that. It's not a sacrifice for the organization.
Right, great. That's a good point for us to throw it open to the floor. So, first question. As I always say, question but no speech. Huh? Yes, sir. It's a regular. First question. Hey, give him a hand, lah.
He's my.
Have to.
He's a loyal shareholder of Ascendus.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
So you go for AGM also? Huh?
Yeah. My name is Tan Sipik, graduate of University of Malaya at that time. No, I just want to find out from you, you have a certain detachment. That means, I don't know whether you have been the human resource manager or not. That means you evaluate everybody's role very critically and objectively. So maybe including yourself. So that's why you say, I have come in, I will do this job, and once my job is done, it's about time I move on, right? Right? Or else, do you depend on your sixth sense? My sixth sense tell me that so-and-so come in at this point, and by 12 or 14 months, he ought to do the job. If not, then we move him out. So is it a sixth sense that tells you that you must change your job? Because since you have been 12 years in Ascendus, I'm sure you are steeped in the corporate culture. No? In every annual report, there is a section on corporate social responsibility. And I'm sure you must be thinking hard, what are you going to do, particularly your support of the community and so on. The Chinese saying, 齐之社会, 用之社会. That means you take from society and you give back to society. Therefore, I was thinking whether because of your corporate culture that you begin to think and all that, and then you decide maybe it's about time I move on and let someone take over. Can you comment?
Yeah. Well, maybe just to address the question about, you know, the desire or the feeling about the need to give back, contribute. It's quite pervasive. In fact, it's really part of my upbringing within my family, and I'm very much inspired by my mother because we are not, I mean, I may be, as Viswa, you said, in a privileged position, but I was not when we were growing up. There were 7 of us, 7 kids, and mom and dad was the sole breadwinner. But my mother was, you know, despite the fact that she had very, you know, tight budget and have to bring 7 kids up, she was helping whoever was in need, you know, of help. So growing up, you see that, yeah, you have very little, but you still can help. So in a way, that's kind of ingrained in us in whatever way, and that's why I feel, I said earlier on, you don't need the money to help, you can use your time to help. So it's always, you know, in my desire, whenever I can, but in the course of working life, we are so caught up with, you know, time spent in the office. In my case, I travel a lot, that I didn't have the time. I wish I had more time. And now when I think that, you know, I have that luxury, a little bit more of time and money, I want to do more. So that also triggered off, yeah, can I do more in ways that may not reward me financially, but I think emotionally, mentally, it would be a great reward. So yes, because of that, it is that calling that's always been there, but never really had that time and the opportunity to be able to really, you know, reach out to do so.
When did you first start thinking about this, about giving back in this way? Of course, even in Ascendus and your previous jobs, you were giving back. But in this way, when was the first time you seriously started thinking that this is what you want to do? How far back?
How far back? It's very hard to kind of, you know, pinpoint that moment in time, but it's just kind of an evolvement of opportunities. I must say that, you know, in many ways, King Jun, where are you?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. He started this bursary, right, for the alumni. And then my husband, Ching San, got pulled in, and then he started the ball rolling, and we initiated similar bursaries for our hostel, Dunyan Road, he for engineering, I for real estate. So it kind of got us into this habit of let's see what else we can do, let's see
It's
how
also
much
about
more
doing
we
it
can do.
with your friends.
Yes.
And there's a certain joy.
And a cause that
Yes.
you believe in.
And you're
and
not
a joy.
alone.
Yes.
And maybe it would be good for you to share how being part of the alumni, you obviously, I mean, just now when you met each other as alumni members, there was a certain warmth, a certain camaraderie. I mean, to what extent would you say that those things, the kind of friendships that we make whilst in campus, even though you may be in different faculties, actually it's very enduring, and at some point in your life, you actually come back together and do things.
It is so important. I think it's so important to build the friendships as early as we can. And in our case, in university, in hostel especially, because you see each other so often. And they've become very, enduring, lifelong relationships. And it's really the power of network that brings that additional, I suppose, sense of belonging to the university. And NUS has started to reach out. I mean, initiatives like this, I think, is wonderful. And it's kind of, little sparks that kind of grow and multiply by itself. So I think we need to do more. And as fellow alumni, I think if we can continue to do more. I'm on the board of trustees, so doing a bit of selling.
This is the spin, guys. Take it with a pinch of salt. Okay, right.
Hi everybody, I'm Valerie, and while everything was going on stage here today, an online chat was going on our You Alive website. So I have a question here left by Alan Leong. He left it earlier on the website, and he asks 6 questions. So I'm going to narrow it down to 2.
Thank you.
Okay, and this is focusing more on Ms Chong's at the art scene. Okay, so he asks, what is your view on the art scene in Singapore currently? What is your vision for the art scene in Singapore? And this may be a little early, but what legacy would you like to leave?
Wow.
Oh, wow. Yes, very early question. I'm only 3rd week on the job. I think the visual art scene in particular is very exciting. It has now got the support of, well, not that it didn't have, but more support from government. The announcement by the minister to have museums being, free to the public, I think that's very good news. $200 million matching grant to encourage donations to the art. That's also very good news. There's been a lot of other developments in the various aspects of the whole arts ecosystem. And I think that we've reached that, that point where there is enough happening in Singapore that will really garner world attention. We already have our Art Stage Singapore that's got very strong support. We have, in fact, there's some statistics that show that over the last 10 years, the visitorship to museums have gone up 4 times. Now over 8 million people visit our museums every year. The number of art companies have quadrupled, and the number of museums have doubled. So, and these are both public and private museums. So our whole art ecosystem is starting to really take shape, and that has gained the attention of art collectors, art enthusiasts around the world. So I can only see it getting better. Then with the opening of the National Art Gallery in 2015, it will be the largest, not just in Singapore, but I think in Southeast Asia. It will be the only one that's specializing in Southeast Asian art, and we have very, very good collection of Southeast Asian art. So I think this is now really an opportunity for Singapore to make art a lot more accessible to the general public. The museum doors will be open for free, and people can be close to art and really be inspired by art. So I'm lucky to be, stepping into this very exciting, vibrant scene at this point in time. Leaving legacies, that's not, not at the top of my mind. It's a lot of work still to be done, notwithstanding that already so much is happening.
Hi, evening. My name is Timothy. I have two questions for you. First one, how would you describe your leadership philosophy? Maybe specifically focusing on what haven't actually worked out for you. Number two, I'm trying to make sense of something over here. Your topic for tonight on letting go, that's one. In terms of giving and your own sense of meaning, how does letting go, giving, and your own sense of meaning connect? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you must remember the questions for me.
Yeah. Why don't you answer
Okay.
the last one first? How does letting go and sense of giving and meaning? Well, how does that connect?
How does that connect? Okay. Well, to me, the big letting go was really of relationship, of roles, of I guess people that I have been very comfortable with and have great sense of enjoyment and fulfillment with for the last 20 over years. And I took that decision that while it is painful to let go, to step out of the comfort zone, the draw of being able to give back to society, to community that is, I think, in better need of my time, my resources, is much, much more attractive and stronger. And that makes it easy, easier for me to let go. Also the fact that I can, a point that I brought up earlier, that I felt that if I did not make that step, I could be not just holding myself back from doing other things or better things, different things, but I could be holding the organization back, holding the company back, and I don't think that any leader should allow that to happen. So it was this kind of, you mentioned Zen-like moment where you think about the downside of letting go, but the upside of being able to pursue something different, which really speaks to and resonates with, my inner desires. It was, just coming together.
But I guess I can quite understand where Timothy is coming from, because I have the same issue. The connection between letting go, the truth is, it's not at all an easy thing for many of us to leave a comfort zone, especially when there's material success that entices you every day, right? Even if some of your major responsibilities have been fulfilled, it is not. Most of us will find it very difficult. So the question really is, what do you think it is that allows you to let go?
I guess it goes back to my earlier point about the fact that I count my blessings every day. Whenever I am invited to any major, event or function, like the F1, I always remind myself that I'm here, and I really should be very thankful that I'm here, not because whoever invited me likes me for who I am, but it's because I'm the CEO of Ascenders, and there's a reason why, they want to build their relationship. So
it's a certain impermanence.
Yes, there's a certain impermanence. So I don't take for granted. So that if and this year I'm not going to be invited back to F1, so that's fine. I don't think that, I see that as a loss. I just see that the fact that I had that opportunity to be really great, and I should enjoy that, savor the moment, but move on. So that kind of not hanging on to privileges, I think makes
And not
it
getting too
easier to
used to
let
it.
go. And not getting used, so makes it easy to let go. Yeah. But if we tend to hang on to all these privileges, it will be very hard to let go. Yeah. In Ascenders, you know, I have so much resources. I had so much resources, you know, within my means. Not the same in the National Art Gallery, because clearly we are public funded. We work within a tight budget constraint. I have to think very hard before I make a trip to make sure that, you know, it's worthwhile. But that's part of the job, and you just do what is necessary, and don't compare with, oh, I wish I had all that,
Yeah.
you know, resources available to me. Yeah.
And I guess the connection is that by being able to let go and not be possessed by it, you allowing yourself the opportunity to embrace many other things. Otherwise, you could be trapped
Yeah.
in this.
Mhm.
And I guess that's the answer. One doesn't exist without the other. And for many of us, if we can't let go of where we are today, you may not be able to enjoy some of the other things that you haven't experienced. I know it sounds tautological, but it is. I think that's what you're driving at, you know. And does that answer your question? Somewhat. Okay. What was your first question? Yes. what's your
Leadership philosophy. Well, you know, there are several terms coined, all different kinds of leadership. Servant leadership is one of them. And Gandhi is one of my, I suppose, idols. I think many things he does and says is very wise. And he said that, you know, sometimes as a leader, you should look at where the people want to go, and then you join them, and, you know, you stand in front sometimes and you lead the way. So in my case, I feel that it's very important for a leader to be able to bring and rally the troop together. And it's not a case of, this is where I want to go, therefore you follow me. I think you need to convince and align everyone to say that that is the right direction to go. So the co-creation of where we want to go, the vision, agreement on what is the best way to go about, you know, reaching that destination. I think that's all very important. So that's how I, you know, have been operating as a leader.
It's a very simple philosophy. It's admirable. Yes. Is this a Kelong question? They are good friends. Huh? This is the King Jun she was referring to.
I have an observation and a question. Actually, throughout this conversation and from the time I've known Siak Ching, I was a tenant of hers in Singapore Science Park before. And I'm surprised that the word humility has not come up, because for me, Siak Ching epitomizes, you know, humility. You know, I'm sure some of her colleagues, you know, whom I've interacted with also share the same. So that's my observation. You may want to comment on that. My question actually is for the sake of some students here. How has the MBA program that you did benefited your success in the real estate world? I mean, you know, real estate, they don't teach you all the basic management principles, and I'm sure you may have benefited from it. So this is a selling part for the business school.
For business school.
I'm very proud of the MBA that I have from NUS. How has it helped me? I think it has helped me tremendously. Yeah. In fact, we just went to the canteen that we used to eat when we came for MBA classes. I found it so much easier to see through the MBA course than the BSc course. Because after working a couple of years, and then you come to MBA course and you say, oh, so that's what they call this practice. You know, it's like putting a name
And what you've been doing all this while.
to a practice. So whereas when I was, undergrad and doing real estate, everything was so new. I couldn't relate it to how do I apply that, until I come out and work. So for the MBA, it's the reverse. You've already worked, you've seen how it, all of these things in practice, and then you come to school and they tell you this is the name for it, this is how it's framed together. And with that, ability to now put things into context, hang names around it, it is a lot easier. And I would also say that, and back to being prepared, I took up the MBA not just because, I wanted to lead an organization, I wanted to, become more of a more effective manager. I just felt that, well, it's good to be armed with, more knowledge, skill sets. It was very hard doing part-time MBA, working and then rushing to classes, eating your dinner in the taxi and doing your homework in the taxi. It was very hard, but it was very well worth it. And interestingly, after I finished the MBA, and then I had a call to say, hey, would you like to come and run this company, be the GM? And I said, wow, great! I have all these skills, these tools that I could apply. So it's readying yourself, being prepared, and then when the opportunity will call, come knocking.
And as far as for the first question, observation, maybe she's too humble to talk about humility, But why didn't you talk about it?
What can I talk about?
He wants you to talk about how humble you are. That's a bit of a ridiculous proposition.
I'm proud of the fact that I'm humble, is it?
I'm very proud to be humble.
That's what I said.
Talk about she's too humble, okay? But I think we know what you mean, and we have time for one last question. Yes, Johnny. Hey, we haven't had a question from a lady.
So I can sit down.
No, you didn't get the drift? Or you didn't
Johnny Tan, NUS alumnus. Siak Ching, you mentioned earlier that you were involved in some fundraising activities with Kenzone and your husband, helping the needy students. Through my involvement with NUS Society, I got involved in some fundraising activities as well in the last few years. And I talked to a lot of friends in my era. I guess we are in the same generation. And very often I got comments like, the university never looked after me. During my time, they don't care. Why should I care about the university? A very common comment. Whether it's excuse, whether I agree with them or not, but this is a very common comment. The second comment is, they say, wow, the university is very rich, very well endowed. And thirdly, they say, why should we support the needy students? Because they can take out loan, pay forward. Next time they earn money, they can pay back, right? I'm not saying I agree with them, but they seem to be, they're not able to let go of what has happened in the past. And my question to you is, what would you advise in the capacity of a BOT member, as well as through your experience, what message would you convey to this group of people who are very skeptical or negative about, giving back, whether it's excuse or what have you? Maybe you would like to, share your view with us. Thank you.
Actually, Johnny, if you don't mind, could I ask Siak Ching to comment on that? I think it would be a lot more powerful if she comments as an alumnus and more as an alumnus than a BOT member.
Okay, that's fine.
I think it's more authentic that way.
Yeah.
I mean, as an alumnus, talking to fellow alumni members, what's the message you give?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Johnny.
What's the message to give to fellow alumnus to come back, to give and contribute to your alma mater?
And who may be very frustrated about their own total experience during their campus days, right? Or soon after that they were ignored.
Well, I think one of the reasons why we have continued to, come back to the university and then, give, is because we had a lot of very pleasant memories and good friends. So if someone has had very negative experiences, unpleasant memories, it will take a lot to convert them. But I wouldn't say that let's give up. We need the personal, I guess, touch and the reach to these people. So we shouldn't, and that's, I guess, the work of every one of us to see how can we bring back to the core people that have just gone very far away for whatever reasons, and look at which is the natural group to bring them back. In our case, we were very close to our hostelites, fellow hostelites in Dunyan, it now became Shears. So that was a natural group for us to associate with, and we then continue to give and to do more. There are other associations, me with real estate, my husband with engineering, and then both of us with MBA. So, as long as we keep in touch and every opportunity that we can to continue to reach out to them, I think once you have been approached time and again, I think most people will generally give in. Give in with enough persistence. Yeah. But I don't think it's also very necessary that we want everybody to be engaged.
And you don't want to force.
We don't want to force. So if there are people that are very active and they can, they're prepared to do more, let's leverage on them and really see how much we can draw out of the few active but very, very, I think effective alumni.
Thank you. Anyone with a final burning question, especially a woman? You have a question? I know you're not a woman, but you have a question. Right? When I said woman, he put his hand down. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Alan, NUS alumnus. I just wanted to hear your thoughts with regards to arts and the link to health, because you serve on the Jurong Health Board. So I was just interested to know how perhaps in your role at the National Art Gallery, how you could spread this concept of perhaps the visual arts stimulating the general populace to let go, perhaps not just of their, we have been talking about corporate stresses and all that, but what about the daily burdens of life and things like that? I appreciate the finer things in life. And the second part is, how would you perhaps influence some of the businesses and organizations to bring art into their workspaces for that healing, perhaps link, in terms of maybe making art a bit more useful, because I think everyone's very concerned about health. Thank you.
It's a great question. You're really talking about the intrinsic value of art, right? Right.
In fact, I believe that art, and not just art, even music, can help a lot with healing. So the Jurong Hospital people they've already visited the Ascender's office to see how we brought art into the spaces, to see how they can bring art into the core of the hospital space and help with the healing. And in fact, the government has a fund to support such initiatives. Bringing art into more public spaces, yes. In fact, right now, there is a visual arts master plan committee that is working at every aspect of how we could increase art appreciation, art accessibility to people in general. Today, if you were to developers, landlords, if they have sculptures, art in public spaces, it's still just within Orchard Road, you get some incentive, additional GFA. We want to bring that across the entire Singapore. So hopefully you'll be seeing more of that. I've spoken with Kun Hian, CEO of HDB. I said, housing estates, 80% of our people, let's bring more art into the housing board, and she is also similarly very keen. So definitely, I think within the National Art Gallery and within the visual arts cluster under the ministry, we want to make art more accessible because, as you said, we truly believe that art, you know, is aesthetically pleasing. Through art, you could actually even learn about Singapore's history. You can relate to, you know, the different facets of life in Singapore. So it is one of our core, I think, purpose in the gallery. We are spending also a lot of time on art education, start from the very young. So the National Art Gallery will have a Center for Art Education, where we will encourage the school kids to come in, and we'll have, you know, all sorts of activities in there, and really start them from young.
But a quick question, apart from the utility of art, I think the point that you're making also, which struck a chord with me, is about letting go. When art does allow you to let go, you know, and I can tell you this very honestly, one of the first things I told my colleagues after visiting your office was that I felt this lift. You know, honestly, because when you walk in, it's art everywhere. And I didn't expect it, and it really had such a profound effect on me. When I went back and I told my colleagues that, and I said, it's such a beautiful experience. Just seeing art, being surrounded by art, you know. And of course, it wasn't violent art. It was nice, serene, calming art, you know. But there is a certain intrinsic quality to art beyond the utility of art, you know, that I guess you're referring to. Would you want to quickly comment on that, and then we wrap?
What were you doing in my office?
Remember I sent you an email about having the meeting about that program?
Oh,
and then I met your colleagues.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, now I know. Yeah, so uplifting.
It was.
Yeah. No, I think you can use art to communicate feelings, you know, emotions, ideas. And you're right. We want the office to be inspiring. And the reason why we brought art into the space is also to demonstrate to not just our people, but to our customers, that you can create very inspiring work environment through art. And with that inspiring environment, you actually enhance the productivity of the people. So that was also, in a way, communicating what is the core mission of, what's the mission of Ascendus, which is to create environments that inspire people to excel. And art is one way that can inspire people. And that is the same, you know, reason why we want to, the government is making art museums and all the other museums free to our people. We want our people to be inspired by art, by really good art.
Well, let's wrap with that. And if I may just say something in conclusion. This is certainly not the most fiery You Alive sessions we've had. For those of you who have joined me before.
This one should be water, not fire.
Yeah, fire.
It should be water.
But fire needs water to douse it.
Okay, yes.
Otherwise, water doesn't have the purpose, right? But I must say, very honestly, this is one of the most uplifting You Alive sessions I've had. You've had a profound effect on me, even though I've known you for some time. The point is, it is wonderful to listen to a person speak with such quiet conviction about something that is so deep and profound. I think that defines you, and I hope it's had an effect on the rest of you. Because,
Can I add one more?
yes.
I think all of us must be inspired to admire art. As the saying goes, a thing of beauty is a joy forever.
Yes,
So remember that.
absolutely.
Joy forever.
And a thing of beauty is a joy forever. And Siak Chin, we are very, very proud that you're one of us.
Thank you. I'm proud to be an NUS alumnus.
And
Thank
we
you.
wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've got something very nice, a lovely picture of you and I.
Oh, wow, that was
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lovely, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was with.
She looks more
Gary
beautiful than I.
Clark.
Let's take a picture
Thank you
together.
very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
And
very
we've
much.
got something for you to do. This is, this part is for you to say something nice about us.
Oh, that's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough.
About.
Well, after all the sakaiing we did, huh? And we did it for free, you know. Huh?
So
Hey,
I'm
good.
supposed to write here?
Yeah, you just write something like, "Dear Vishwa, you're the most admired." I remember when Cho Chuan wrote it, I couldn't read a single word. That confirms he's a doctor. I think she's got pretty good handwriting. Huh? School of Design. Now you got to read it to us.
Oh, short and sweet. Exhilarating. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, maybe invite all of you for some light bites and some refreshments, an opportunity to chat with Siak Ching. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us.